Good morning. My name is Kevin Burkett. I'm an instructional technologist at University Online Education Services at Rutgers University. On behalf of the 2025 Rutgers University Online Learning Conference, I welcome Ashley Leininger, University faculty, Humanities and Social Sciences with Purdue Global University. We were all very pleased to have her share her thoughts on capturing the learner with microlectures. During the presentations, I have a few things to ask you. Please engage in the live session chat to interact with each other in the chat section. Okay. You're going to want to make sure that you kindly pose any questions in the Q&A section so I can monitor them and I can give them to Ashley at the end of the presentation. We've allotted 50 minutes for this presentation with about 5 minutes at the end for presenter questions, maybe more or less as time permits. Any direct questions that aren't answered, I'm going to put my personal Rutgers email address in the Q&A window for you to email those to me or send them to me through the chat or the Q&A, I should say. And then I will follow up with Ashley and we'll get those out to you at some point. Okay. Please enjoy the presentation. This is my second time working with Ashley. We had a blast last year. I'm really glad to be helping her again. Ashley, take it away.
Hello, good morning, everyone. So today I'm going to talk about, as Kevin said, capturing the learner with microlectures. Some quotes to kind of start off to think about. Tell me and I forget, show me and I remember, and involve me and I understand. This Chinese proverbs will really talk closely with microlectures because this is a way that we can gather our students' knowledge and our own knowledge and inspire further creativity. All human interactions are opportunities either to learn or to teach. Taking things as an opportunity, grabbing the bull by the horns, I guess, as you would say, provides opportunities that we might not realize are there until we just do it. And if you want to change the way people respond to you, change the way you respond to people. Timothy Leary said this, and it really resonates because in order to teach those that we might have lost or are struggling in our classes, it's very, very important to change the way that you approach it. And maybe that is the essence to teaching them and getting them to learn what you'd like them to learn. All right, so in this presentation, I'm going to examine some common missteps surrounding the topic of understanding in online educational classrooms. You folks will learn about microlectures as a way to capitalize on student engagement and learning, and also discover ways to implement some microlectures and video supplementation within your courses. All right, so some common missteps in online education. When we think about synchronous learning, this is where people can go in and just view the videos and go at their own pace. It's really great and advantageous for those that are self-paced, that are self-motivating, but also that are in different time zones. That's also a disadvantage, though, because our individuals within synchronous learning environments don't necessarily have the flexibility that we may want them to log in, watch these lectures, read the material. They may be in different time zones. So then we've got issues with emails back and forth. Maybe they email us at 2:00 in the morning our time, and it's 8:00 in the morning their time. So by the time we get to it, it's 8-9 hours later, and they're like, I don't know how to finish this assignment. It's due in an hour, and the professor never got back to me, right? So that's another issue. And then internet troubles. When we think of online education, it is on the internet. So sometimes there's going to be internet troubles, which means that the person might not necessarily be able to access the material you want them to. It's maybe they can't find a private or quiet area to engage in the lectures. Maybe one of the other issues is that their internet doesn't work at all. So then they're like, okay, how do I submit something? How do I get to my instructor? For asynchronous classes, these are really similar to synchronous learning, as you all know, but it does have this live in-person component like today. that there are deadlines, there are due dates. Students have to meet online in the classroom. They learn, they can allocate their time in a way that works with their schedule. But then one of the top problems with asynchronous learning is the lack of personal interactions. That there can be, a lack of peer-to-peer support. Even though they have the discussion sections usually, they don't necessarily build those relationships that they need. Another big challenge is really that, you don't get that immediate instructor feedback, right? So when they're working on a discussion post, even though it's asynchronous, it's not right there in the classroom. So you're not right there to say, oh, no, you need to mark this question this way. Or maybe it's like an art class. Oh, no, draw this way, try this way type of thing. You don't have that quick feedback loop going on. Another thing is that there's not necessarily a personal interaction with the instructor. Yeah, we can have seminars. We can talk to our students. We can say, hey, hi, this is me, right? Me and all of my glory in the morning. But we can't necessarily say, oh, yeah, get to know them on a more personal level. There's not the time for that usually. We've got, 50 minutes usually for a class period, just like this presentation, 50 minutes to get our point across, move on, and hopefully they get the information. Okay. Some of those, one of the disadvantages, they have to be quick on the uptake, right? That when we think about asynchronous learning, we have to think about, okay, we need to make sure they get everything quickly. They're quick on the uptake. They understand the material, and that we're right there to tell them, oh, no, that's not what we were talking about. Now, for microlearning, the advantage of this is what I'm going to be talking about today, is that it's very short lessons. They're digestible. They're bite-sized, right? And the goal of microlearning really is to focus on learning the core concepts and theories, while also consuming the information within 5 to 10 minutes. We all teach different areas. We all are all experts in different fields. And so one of those things is theories. I'm a big proponent of theories. Research methodology is my thing. I love it. I thrive on it. But a lot of times as a sociologist teaching sociology, I have to go through the theories so many times. I even have a cheat sheet for my students that I'm like, okay, here you go. In this asynchronous class, I went ahead and in the announcement, I added this sheet that says, this is, structural functional theory, this is conflict theory, and this is the symbolic interactionist perspective theory. And I lay them out, and I'm like, okay, big one for structural functionalists is Durkheim. If you don't know Durkheim, he did this, this, and this, most famous for suicide studies. But also he did a lot of work in deviance and criminology. So make sure to pay attention to that. Here's conflict theory. This is Marx. If you haven't heard of Marx, he was an interesting guy. He wrote the Communist Manifesto. That's where people know him from. But he wrote this based upon trying to understand and talk about how the French Revolution actually occurred and why. So he was writing in response to that. And there's always, the have and the have-nots for him. And then I'm like, okay, now we got those. Symbolic interactionism. We can look at Weber for this one, or we can even look at Goffman, who says the presentation of self. Like today, I'm presenting myself as an expert in the field of microlearning. I'm not an expert on the field. I've done some research on it, and I do a lot of microlectures. But I'm presenting myself as I'm an expert in this area. So you should really pay attention, right? But even Goffman was like, hey, we have symbols. We present ourselves in specific ways in order to get other points. I'm going to present myself differently to you folks than I would necessarily to my family. I'm going to present myself very differently to the cashier at the grocery store than I would necessarily when I am presenting myself to the doctor. Very, very different. Okay. And so I lay these out to my students. This is a short way to learn, a digestible content. I weed out the fluff of this stuff so that the students can get the point, they have reference to it, and they can go, I have 5 minutes of my time today to step aside 5 minutes of my time to listen to this lecture so I can fully understand what's going on. Okay. One of the, it caters to those really that need to quickly grasp the concept, right? Because our learners have very limited time. So even during this time constraint, it becomes very challenging for them to learn some complex problems or issues. Thus, the reason I have just the sheet for them. I said, okay, here you go. I speak about it every single time at the beginning of seminar, that quick 3 minutes. Said, okay, remember conflict perspective, symbolic interactionist perspective, structural functionalist perspective. Remember those three. And those three are this, this, and this. The big people are this, this, and this. And pay attention to how this applies to your situation, right? Now, one of the biggest disadvantages is that the students, again, have to be able to pick it up quickly. And it's very fragmented learning. It's not going to be a long, drawn-out seminar or a long speech like this would be. That they have to actually fragment it. It's little pieces. We don't necessarily apply it specifically to the instance. So microlearning runs a risk of this fragmented learning that they can't apply. They're like, yes, I can read off and I can tell you what these perspectives are, but I can't apply it to my everyday life. So that's one of the things that you have to pay attention to when you're talking about microlearning or even microlectures. And these go into some of the student issues that occur with online education itself. That, humans by nature, we're extremely social. Okay, so with our students, they become isolated. One of the biggest obstacles that we have to overcome and our students have to overcome with online learning is this idea of isolation. It can be incredibly lonely to enroll as in an online course, as students often feel very disconnected from their peers and instructors. Even though we have great interactions with our classmates or our students with Zoom or even Google Meet, or even, this Ring Central that we have here, it's not necessarily the same as a physical interaction, right? We can all agree with that. And how we fix this is, find out what support systems are out there. Make sure to link them out to your students. Say, okay, well, you can go to the Student Success Center, or you can go, this is a really great place to get help if you need. A lot of my students have issues with food insecurity, or they have other issues as far as their older adult students, single parents type of thing, or even military personnel. And they have, sometimes they have issues getting enough food, being safe, finding internet, all those things. And I always linked out, I'm like, okay, go to www.findhelp.org. Put in your zip code and it'll list out all these different places that can help you, including emergency food, health, wellness, all of those things. And that kind of falls into some of the distractions too that we have next, are coming up next. But for online instructors, we actually really need to help students overcome feelings of isolation by talking to them, by being friendly with them, by putting on a smile, right? I had to be very careful to make sure that I keep a smile on my face. I forget sometimes. And I'm like, so I have to be careful to smile all the time, but interact with the students, talk to them. Okay. If they have questions, just field the questions. Speak to them, look at the camera. Okay. Another thing for students is lack of motivation. If you feel isolated, you're not necessarily going to be motivated to go on to to look at a micro lecture. You're not going to be motivated to necessarily go to seminar. So you have to entice the students to do that. You have to give them some reason in the first couple of classes, or even the first class, set the stage, set the tone. Because even lack of face-to-face interactions all the time, students find it really hard to be motivated to come to class at all. They found it very hard to be motivated to complete their discussion post. So you have to make sure that you are present in the classroom, you are present in your discussion posts, you are present in the seminar, and you make sure that you pay attention to your students and the chat window. And I apologize for not reading it right now because that's where you guys are talking. But it's one of those things that you have to be sure to stare at when students stare at a screen for hours and hours. Even when they're outside of online classes, it becomes extremely difficult and demotivating, actually, to want to get back on there. Like, what am I doing today? Well, you're going to be listening to something from me, who is extremely eccentric, over the top sometimes, but hopefully it gets you excited to learn and makes the time go very, very quickly for you. So set realistic short-term goals. Help them with time management, that these students juggle their normal day-to-day interactions without being a student. Then they add on to that online learning on top of that. Makes it even more challenging to keep those proverbial jars in the air or balls in the air, right? That you really want to be sure that you make it less of a challenge. Learning is challenging, but there are things that we can do as instructors that make it much easier to do so. So help them with time management. Say, okay, we'll start off at the beginning of the week, do this post, or read your reading. Once your reading's done, then look at your first discussion thread. We always have a couple discussion threads and then replies to them, quizzes sometimes, assignments sometimes. I break it down for my class in the announcement. Like, okay, this is what you should do. Here's a good schedule. Start off doing your reading, finishing it this day. The second day, you should start focusing on your first discussion thread. Answer those questions. The third and fourth day, work on your replies to other students. Be involved in the classroom. Fifth day, maybe take your quiz and then work on that assignment if you have it, or ask questions during seminar when we have it then. So then it lays it out a way that you can help them with time management to make sure that they get the results that they are expecting and that you'd like to see too. That learning actually happens. Distraction, another issue is that, a lot of times students are distracted. There's things going on. There could be a TV over here. I mean, my wonderful coffee here has been distracting me for 5 minutes, right? Good stuff in the morning, right? But there's TV, there's bed, there's making food, there's kids, there's roommates, there's noise. And a lot of times, these distractions are there. So when your students can't find a private or quiet place to study, help them find solution. Say, okay, maybe, turn on social media blockers for an hour. Make a Google Calendar note that you are in focus time, okay? And stick to that focus time. Just like we need it as instructors, our students need it too. They need to get rid of a lot of the distractions. Leave your phone someplace else. Tell your students, leave your phone someplace else. Go throw it across the room for a minute and get it when all this seminar is done. Get their undivided attention when you can. Technical issues, we've already really talked about. Finding proactive ways. Again, that findhelp.org. There's places that can help with technical issues, internet communication, even helping to pay those bills if they need it. That is always helpful. And even from low bandwidth to spotty reception and even video glitches, I get a lot, I make a joke out of them. So I'm like, okay, I have FWF. And they're like, what's that? I'm like, sometimes I get frozen webinar face. And they're like, what? I'm like, frozen webinar face. When my face freezes in the most inopportune times, like, right? Really, and it makes them laugh and it makes them realize that you're human too. And that helps engage them within the classroom. Even though it's a funny thing, we have issues. They'll have issues on their cameras as well. So make sure to not make a huge deal out of it. And if you do, just, I always self-deprecate with it. I just make a joke out of it and say, it happens. This is what it is. Make sure if I'm talking weird, let me know. Sometimes if I have a microphone, it's like, let me know if it sounds like heavy breathing into the microphone. I'll get it fixed. Just let me know. And it sets the tone for the classroom to be more comfortable to enhance the learning as well. Be communicative. Say, hey, sometimes students fail to communicate with you. I have an open door policy. If there's anything going on, just let me know and I'll check in on them. hey, how's your week going today? Anything that I can help you with? Allow questions in the classroom when you can. And then if they're confused, say, hey, this question came across on an email, and don't say their name, just say this question came across. I don't want to answer it here because it seems like people might have been confused by this or what I might have said in the classroom. So let me clarify it for you so we're all on the same page here. Take advantage of online office hours if you can give them, so students are there and can do it. If you have online office hours, go ahead and do a micro lecture during that time if you want to. Post it on the classroom so you have it, and I'll teach you how to do that in a minute. Other area, personal barriers. Again, a lot of our students will have issues with, they can be there for the class, but maybe they have their own personal issues. We all have personal issues. We all have stuff that may hinder our learning online in the classroom, or even us as instructors, that might hinder us as instructors doing our very best. But what we need to do is that we need to make sure that all of our stuff is accessible. We need to make sure we have a way to teach our students that might not be able to write a paper well, or might not understand how we are presenting material. I make really odd connections sometimes, and the students are like, wait a second, I totally got that. Thank you. Where other students are like, I have no idea why you brought in Halloween costumes in classroom. I didn't understand how that related to social constructions of reality. And I'm like, oh, hey, wait. The reason I did this is because we like to present ourselves differently. Our own reality is constructed by those around us. If you laugh at me, then maybe I won't wear that outfit the next day. Okay. Because our realities are shaped by those around us. And that's just the sociologist in me saying that. So that brings us then to our micro lectures. What are they? They are very short videos. These are ones that, are produced by you, the instructor, that explains, key concepts and a specific skill. Okay. They micro lectures really are receiving a lot more attention from researchers, especially those that are trying to understand how to make videos that are effective. How, robust components are online, they're hybrid or face-to-face interaction, which is the best to instruct our students. Micro lectures incorporate a lot of features, but they are really more give a sense of connectiveness to the instructor. Hey, the instructor heard me. Oh yeah, I had that question about that. That's awesome. She's going over it. Or I didn't quite understand the assignment. This is great to look back, and I can pause the video here and be like, oh yeah, I understand now. I understand how to apply this concept. Or, oh, I don't necessarily understand how to do an integral. I'm going to stop it here and be like, oh yeah, I see. E to the x is still e to the x, right? And figuring out, all of those different things, that it gives us a way to cater our classroom to those students that are in there at the time. And you can reuse these micro lectures too. Our active learning is enhanced. That I'm going to talk about more active learning approaches in a minute, but it supports the way of learning. Like first, these are short and concise. That, we can design the micro lectures that really emphasize the set of course components that are aligned to work together. So we can say the assignment says this. If we go back to our reading, class, go to your reading and go ahead and look at this definition. And you can walk them through this, how to get started. Oh, this is a research assignment. Well, the first thing it says in the introduction, give us a definition of what a family means to you. Oh, I can do that right now. Right? Type it out. And then it says, okay, now compare it to your textbook's definition of family and put in that definition. Oh, well, this is how you go to the textbook, go to the search window, put in definition of family. It'll pop up there. Control C, Control V, add the citations there, say, hey, the quotation marks, this is the definition from the book that you were looking for. Okay. You can walk them through how you want assignments done. You can walk them through the material in a different way. It supports our learning for our students. It supports these positive ways. Another thing is that micro lectures really feature the instructor as a talking head, right? That we are present, we are aware, we know what's going on there. We're trying to help the student, and they know that. Traditional videos really focus on a way that we can transmit the material to our students in a way that they can take their 5 minutes. They can listen to it. They can pause the video. They can go back. If they're distracted by something else, they can go back and rewatch the video. And it tells us how to do it on a video platform. It is one of the greatest ways to give a second type of learning outside of the classroom to make sure that the core components are met, the course outcomes are met, that students can understand fully what you're trying to teach them. It gives you more than that 50-minute window, right? That seminars are. It gives you more time to say, we're going to strictly focus on this, and it helps us adopt different way of learning. So why are then micro lectures so important? Well, one of them that I use all the time is Magic the Gathering to learn card games. Now, micro learnings are great because micro lectures actually give you insight into the instructor, but also you can teach about things that are more in your wheelhouse, that you're more confident with a lot of times. Granted, keep them with the course material, but I figured for this one it could be fun talking about, how I teach others how to play Magic the Gathering. Okay? It's a card game, right? It's a card game that's been around ever. But it also is a way to teach people, like, okay, here's something that you can put in your head, a moniker, right? That we can think of the rules of the game in order. Untap, upkeep, draw. Untap, upkeep, draw, right? That's what I tell my kids all the time. I'm like, okay, what are you supposed to do? They're like, untap, upkeep, draw. With Magic the Gathering, you take the cards. You look over, I got cards. And you usually have mana land. And when you use the mana to do things such as use this creature to get it out to use, okay? It's 1 and 1 black. So you need to take out 1 mana, tap it to pull it out. Okay. At the next turn, you untap, you pay your upkeeps, and then you draw a new card. And just adding things like that, saying, okay, now we have a song. Untap, upkeep, draw. You'll always remember it when you're playing the game. Untap, upkeep, draw. Okay.
Ashley, just let me know we have about 20 minutes left, okay?
Yep. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. So that's just the Magic the Gathering. There's benefits with micro lectures, folks, such as it allows for your self-paced learning, as I said. They're recorded. They can go back. It's self-paced. It's on the go. Okay. And it allows to focus on one specific piece. It's brief and concise. Okay. Other things include it's interactive. It promotes engagement. If you have a classroom that just kind of sits there and you're like, I'm just talking to myself, you know that you can promote engagement from your students. Say, hey, here's an assignment. Watch this micro lecture. Here's how you fill it out. Let's see what we can do. Work together. It promotes them to engage in things. Okay. And really, how they benefit on learning is that it's a great way to get them talking to you, to get them to do a task, to learn something they might not necessarily know. Okay. So it promotes this engagement in the material that otherwise they wouldn't necessarily have. So some key tips to micro lectures. Cover one topic at a time. You want to keep it to 5 to 10 minutes at the most. We're talking very, very small. Smaller the better, but make sure the information is there. Cut out all of the fluff, right? Keep your editing to a minimum. Okay. The students want to see you. They don't want to necessarily see the person over on the other side saying, oh yeah, this is all this extra information. They want to know who you are. They don't want to see just the AI representation of you. Okay. Yes, there are great AI programs out there that'll help you formulate a micro lecture, but they have this uncanny valley. Okay. It's not you. It's human, but it's not human. There's some weird nuances here. They're like, wait a second, why do they have 7 fingers? Well, because they aren't necessarily you. Okay. So keep editing to a minimum. It helps build the interaction, the relationship with your students. Be organic. And also check your closed captioning for accuracy. One of the funny things is that one of the instructors that I work with, her name is Kate, and she has a much longer Italian last name. Okay. What it always changes her name to in closed captioning is Rockstar Peanuts, which is funny because it's not great. So always check your closed captioning, because that can always kind of mess you up or say something that you don't necessarily want to say. And ensure accessibility for everyone. Okay. So this is an example I'm going to give you right now. So if you could just look at my picture on the screen here. Okay. And then look at me as I do this video. But here is the undetailed professor. Okay. So, hello students. Thank you very much for checking out this micro lecture today. I know there have been some issues with prospective questions that you have. All that information is found on page 10 of your textbook. If you have other questions, just refer to the syllabus. It's in the syllabus. For your discussion, make sure that you just answer the questions, read the directions, and be sure to apply to others. I know there is some confusion on, how to apply in the discussion post, but the directions are right there. Just read it. If you have other questions, let me know, but please refer to the syllabus first. All right. Think about that. There's no details there. Okay. I told them to look at page 10, but I didn't help the student. I just said, hey, look at the syllabus, people. Right? We always say, it's in the syllabus. But sometimes the students are like, yeah, it's in the syllabus, but it's in a language or, academic ease that I don't quite understand. I need more help on this, right? And we know that, getting that help is difficult. And they're asking you to help them. So reach out and help them. So don't do that type of micro lecture. Okay. Put in pause moments. Okay. Add the pause moments in your video lectures. Hey, we're going to get out this piece of item, right? This can vary by your own comfort level. You can have things set up. You can say, oh yeah, I'm just going to grab a book over here and let's open it together. Okay. You can explore different diagrams, reflect on assignments, even add countdown timers into your videos. Like, okay, I'm going to pause a video for a couple of minutes and go ahead and answer this question. And when we come back and unpause the video, we'll talk about your answers here, of what you came up with and what the correct answer is. In addition, embed interactive quizzes. Okay, now that you're in the middle of this micro lecture, go ahead and pause here and answer this question. I like to add the Jeopardy music to it, like da 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 kind of thing. Embed the interactive quizzes that way. Go ahead and answer those questions. Embed it within the micro lecture. You can make a micro lecture and put it into a quiz type format. Watch the video, answer the question where they have to interact. Okay. These end up exemplifying your core competencies. And thank you, Kevin, for this wonderful image. I wanted to say that. But as you embed them into your micro lectures, the students are then engaged. They're there. You can check to make sure that they clicked on here or they answered this and see where your classroom is sitting. Okay. You want to cover one topic at a time again. But another thing is you have to build them in. Assign tasks that require written responses. Okay. Active learning. Assign tasks even within the micro lecture. Go ahead and answer the question in your discussion post. Okay. Or this micro lecture specifically is to help you with your discussion post. Tell me of an instrumental task that you do every day. What family member taught you how to do this task? What about an expressive task? Give me the definition of an expressive task. What is one of those tasks that you do every day? Okay. What is some motivation of why you attended an online or that you were enrolled in online education? Draw connections. Tell them how to complete the tasks. Sometimes it's just a list of this. Step 1, step 2, step 3, done. Right? Party, right? And create time within the micro lectures for note taking. If you can't give the time for note taking, go ahead and in that micro lecture, just attach skeletal notes. So they have the time. Provide these notes for them so they can work well with them. So here's another active learning technique. This is one that I use a lot in my classroom to kind of give an idea, or when I talk about micro lectures, give an idea how it's important to learn these different techniques. For one, okay, I want everybody to get out, if you have something near you or just watch. This is how you make a flower, okay? A flower with a napkin. So go ahead and look at the video, the live video, okay? Take a towel. All right. And first, take one corner, put it in the middle. Okay. Next corner, the middle. Do this all the way around, all 4 ways. Okay. So it looks like this. Everybody see it? This is an example of active learning. Okay. Working with your student, going with them. Okay. Now, once everyone has it that way, hold the middle, and what I need you to do is to flip it over, okay? So that then you have a straight item again. And you're going to pull in the corners then to the middle, like so. All 4 ways again, okay? So it'll look like this. A square again, all in the middle. And then you do it a 4th time. All the way in the middle. So then you got a small little thing here, okay? Now, how to make it a flower. You then start pulling out underneath the little petals. 1 petal. You go all the way around and pull out the petals. Okay, keeping your hand in the middle until you pull out all the petals and all the edges. Okay? And in the end, it'll end up being or looking like a beautiful flower. Now, granted, this is a little towel, but it ends up being a beautiful flower for a centerpiece. You can also do things such as roll it up. If we're talking about napkins for dinner and stuff, roll it up tight both ways like this. Fold it this way. Okay. The centers here, pull them out. And these are just some random techniques here. Pull them out tight. Okay. And then we could say, this is for dinner. And one of the funny things is, pull these ends. Now we have a chicken. But that's a way to actively engage your students. Do it with them. Give them time. Okay? Be interactive. Add material. Add information. That a lot of times just the supplemental information, those are the things that the student might not be understanding. They might not understand the nuances of what you're talking about. They might not understand what you meant by just add this number to this number, or it's on page 10, but we're on page 10. Page 10 of this textbook, page 10 of this textbook. This definition doesn't make any sense. What are you talking about? Work with students cooperatively in a managed environment. You can do this and record them during your office hours. Work with students during your office hours. They can sit with you, answer the questions there. Having these little focused learning times are important.
Actually, we have about 10 minutes left and some really good questions in the Q&A. So,
okay, I have just these couple ones and I'm almost done.
There's
Okay.
no rush. I'm just letting you know. Okay. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then, remember the goals, keep it short and sweet, and cover the basics concisely. Record it. Don't use a script, with or without a script. Usually people use scripts. I don't usually use scripts because I like to be authentic, but a lot of times practice, know what you're going to talk about. Don't just come in and just say, hey, yeah, this is what we're going to do today. Thanks, guys. Because you want to make sure you have all the information there. And pay attention to time. And that's why I have Kevin, right? Pay attention to your time. Add keywords to your descriptions. Make the title very specific. Okay. So that they know these are the sociological perspectives. This is how you make a chicken out of a napkin, right? And be specific with those as well. Again, check your captions, check your recorded captioning when you do it. And there are many video programs that will do that for you. Just make sure to read them and change them as necessary, especially because those to allow accessibility to those that might not have it. Okay? So try out new things. Don't forget to practice to make it perfect. And even stepping outside your comfort zone can make a world of difference. We don't always like to do these things. They become difficult. They become scary. But if you step out of your comfort zone, you'll help so many more students. Just try it. Try and succeed, right? Upload your mistakes and all to be authentic. It humanizes us in a virtual world. Okay, so I'm going to leave you with this quote and then we'll go to the questions. So people may be said to resemble the pieces of a puzzle, each unique, yet each essential to bring out a complete picture. All right, questions.
Okay, Ashley. Thank you very much. That was a very informative presentation. We have 4 questions in the Q&A. They're all dealing with how we provide information. I'm not going to try to pronounce names because I'm bad at them. So the first question we have is, how do you balance providing information, like where explicitly the info can be found in the syllabus, with encouraging students to be self-directed learners who search out information on their own? What recommendations could you make?
Well, we could say it's in the syllabus. We could also, I've added a syllabus quiz to some of my courses that are, hey, you have to finish the syllabus quiz that says you've read the syllabus, you understand some of the key components that always come up are, when are things due? Do you take late work? Is there extra credit? So I always add those into a little quiz and say, hey, you took this quiz, you should understand that. Actually have cut down a lot of the questions there. But even with the idea of it's in the syllabus, say, hey, yeah, well, I go ahead and email them back and I said, hey, I went ahead and I pulled this information from the syllabus and this is what it says here. And that's how I have worked with some of the students individually. As far as in a micro lecture, I just say, hey, let's go to page 10 ourselves, and I walk them through that.
Okay, thank you very much. The next question is, I agree that adding class time to discuss personal and professional development, such as productivity, study habits, learning, etc., is important. Given that there is only so much class time, how do you decide on what to cut from the semester plan? That feels like a bit, I'm going to just kind of rephrase this little question. So semester plan is huge, right? We're talking like micro lectures here. So Tatiana, I don't want to jump on this question, but can I reframe that? Is it okay? How would we adjust maybe the micro lecture plan? How would that work?
I always gauge it from my own class, but the things that are most important, you've got these core competencies already. Usually our schools say, hey, you need to cover 80% of the books, or they say you need to cover this much material type of thing. Focus on the outcomes. If you're wanting them to be able to apply sociological research methods, focus on those. Do a micro lecture on what a participant observation looks like. Do a micro lecture on the advantages and disadvantages of questionnaires and surveys. That's how I kind of cut it down. And I just focus in, if I'm going to do stratification, I focus on the big ones: gender, race, and income, like socioeconomic status. Those are the 3 that I focus on. And then the institutions of religion, family, and medicine. Sometimes education gets thrown in there too, but they're already here being educated. So that's kind of how I focus, just the big overall that you see everywhere. All
right. So Melinda's question is really in my wheelhouse. I appreciate this, Melinda. What do you recommend to balance the assignment of a YouTube video by someone else, not the CME or SME, but someone remote, with the instructor created content and summary of the information in YouTube? So a comparative analysis of your expertise, I'm assuming, compared to someone else's. How would you balance that assignment with a micro lecture? It's actually a pretty good question. So let me kind of rephrase it a little bit. I think, Melinda, and I apologize if I'm jumping on you as well, but I think what you're trying to say is the assignment of a YouTube video isn't really directly instructor created correctly, or if it is, how do you direct them to those micro lectures that you created?
I attach them to the assignment, actually, is how I do it. But if you're talking about how, I would tell them how I would do the assignment. I would give an example in the micro lecture, like, hey, this is how I would do the assignment. I found this YouTube video, and then this is how I wrote it from here, and just do it yourself. I mean, that's one of the big things that I have learned, is that if I show the students how I would do it and talk them through how I would do it in a micro lecture, that gives me the information that I want to see from them. And it's so much easier grading. And then you're like, hey, this is exactly what I was looking for. Thank you, type of thing.
Okay, I'm going to jump over to the chat window because there's some chatter about this question. I like the idea that Pamela has about checkpoint questions embedded in videos. I mean, a lot of that is play pause it for me for our LMS for Canvas. Using timers is a great way. I know maybe you've done this before, Ashley, where you actually create a countdown timer that pops up in a YouTube video that almost says like, hey, pause for a second and think about what we just watched for the past 10 minutes. That's a good way. And then Maria says that the realities are probably aren't hearing what we're saying in 11 minutes. That's another challenge, right? So of these things, adding increased timers and increased question sets, and then also focusing on the 11-minute mark, how would you bring a micro credential back to be more effective under those time periods?
Oh my goodness.
I mean, we can go on, right? We can go on forever on this. So let's keep it very high level, you know?
Yeah. You're right. Like how David said back at Marina, that, you know, the reality is that really our students aren't hearing what we're saying in minute 11, which is why they're so small. Keep them focused. I mean, I don't know if you folks are scientists or, you know, hard science or soft science or any of that, but if you just focus on the one element, you can keep it small, but be excited about it. I mean, I don't know if you've seen my energy, but I try to get excited about the things so it goes very quickly. That students remember those nuances. They remember the, you know, oh yeah, they said this. I know they said this. Why did they say this was important? And then they'll go back to the micro lecture later. Hopefully that answered the question, but that was a difficult question.
It was a difficult question because it just had this really, there's a really good relationship between the chat window and the question answer revolving that question. This is the last question of the day, and I'm going to wrap it up after that. What is a good balance between the percentage of recorded micro lectures and live micro lectures? What would you say? Like for your work, what do you do?
I do about one a week.
One recorded or one live?
I do one live, but I also do one recorded. So I do the live is actually recorded as well. But for the question, I do one small micro lecture at the beginning saying, hey, this is what I expect, and this is the assignment, and this is the discussion for the week. And then I do one live video that's recorded. That's the seminar video for the week. And then if there are questions that pop up on the assignment, I'll do another small one. I usually just try to keep it to the one small one of the big topics. Like, oh, these are the definitions to pay attention to. This is, you know, some information that I didn't quite have in there in the seminar that we didn't get to. This is what I want to talk about. And then some of the little side field trips you can add in there. They are optional. Micro lectures aren't necessarily where you are going to force the students to look at them, but they are optional. So they're just added material. Hey, go to this micro lecture. And that kind of goes to the other question. Go to this micro lecture for more information about this topic. Or, hey, make sure to check out this micro lecture I did on this topic. Okay,
so I'm going to wrap this out. One of the things that we just did not discuss in this session today was technology sets to create micro lectures. Do you have a resource that could be available to me so I can pass this out to the community in the audience today? Do you have a resource of, like, let's say Camtasia, PlayPosit, the tools that you use? Or can you just kind of give us like the top three real quick so people aren't like, hey, what's a micro lecture? How do I do it?
Okay, so I use Kaltura Media. One of the references here, I'll switch over. References for some of these is Small Teaching, applying those here. How this improved one here by DeSolers actually paid attention to this. Thriving Work at Home, and then I just search on Google. There's a great one at Arizona State that offers a big list of how to start with micro lectures, how to caption, how to do those things, how to do the videos type of thing.
Okay. From a technologist standpoint, I think that excuse me, Ashley's presentation was amazing. If anyone does have any direct hardware questions, one of the services that we have at Rutgers is we can give you advice on how to create micro lectures and how to create them on the technical side. I'm not on the academic side of that as much as Ashley is, but I'm sure I will work with Ashley in the future going forward to provide a listing of software and also resources for you for this presentation. Ashley, thank you so much. This was a really, really great presentation. I'm glad you came today, and I'm glad I had a chance to work with you again, as random as it was when I chose this session. So thank you all very much. We appreciate it. Please enjoy your time at the next session. We encourage you to visit whoever you can, make friends, meet people online, and thank you again very much. My name is Kevin Burkett. I'm a technologist, and I'm very glad you were here with me today. Thank you very much.